Hi dear Arduino enthusiasts. I'm John from ArduinoGreek, and in our exciting fourth episode, we delve into the captivating realm of Arduino, RGB LEDs, and switches on ArduinoGreek. Uncover the secrets of dazzling light displays as we guide you through hands-on projects, exploring the fusion of colors and interactivity. From wiring basics to programming mastery, this episode is your passport to unlocking endless possibilities with Arduino. Join us for an illuminating journey that sparks your creativity and transforms your understanding of electronics. Subscribe now for an immersive learning experience that bridges theory and practice. ArduinoGreek, where innovation meets education. Components needed. Arduino Uno. Resistors, 220 ohms or as needed. RGB LED. 3 switches, push buttons. Resistors, 220 ohms or as needed. Circuit wiring. Connect the common cathode of the RGB LED to GND on the Arduino. Connect the red, green, and blue anodes of the RGB LED to digital pins 11, 10, and 9 on the Arduino, respectively. Connect one terminal of each switch to digital pins 4, 3, and 2 on the Arduino. Connect the other terminal of each switch to the 5V on the Arduino. Place a resistor, 220 ohms, between each switch pin and the 5V to create a pull-down configuration. Connect a 10K ohm resistor from each switch pin to GND to create a pull-up configuration. These lines define the pins for the red, green, and blue components of the RGB LED. The const keyword indicates that these values won't change during the program execution. These lines define the pins for 3 switches. These switches will be used to control the colors of the RGB LED. In the setup function, the code sets the pin mode for the red, green, and blue pins to output. This prepares these pins to send signals to the RGB LED. These lines set the pin mode for the switch pins to input_pull-up. This configuration uses the internal pull-up resistors, eliminating the need for external resistors. The loop function contains an if-else statement. It checks the state of each switch. If a switch is pressed, low, it calls the illuminate RGB function with the corresponding color values. If no switch is pressed, it turns off the LED by setting all color values to 0. The illuminate RGB function takes red, green, and blue values and uses analogWrite to control the intensity of each color on the RGB LED. This code creates an interactive experience where pressing different buttons controls the color of the RGB LED. If no button is pressed, the LED remains off. How it works. Pressing switch 1, switch 2, or switch 3 will illuminate the RGB LED with the corresponding color, red, green, or blue. If none of the switches is pressed, the RGB LED turns off. Note: ensure that you have the necessary resistors and follow proper safety precautions when working with electronics. These lines define the pins for the red, green, and blue components of the RGB LED. These lines define the pins for 3 switches, representing red, green, and blue buttons. These lines set the duration, in milliseconds, for a long press and declare a variable to store the time when a button was last pressed. The loop function contains conditional statements to determine the LED color based on button presses. If the blue button is pressed, it checks for a long press. If long, it turns off all LEDs, otherwise, it turns on the blue LED. If the red or green button is pressed, it turns on the respective LED. The illuminate RGB function takes red, green, and blue values and uses analogWrite to control the intensity of each color on the RGB LED. It also updates the button press time when any button is pressed, facilitating the detection of long presses. If the program shows faults, it also has a help message to find and fix that faults. How it works. Long pressing the blue button for more than 3 seconds turns off all LEDs. A short press on the blue button lights up the blue LED. Short presses on the red or green button light up the corresponding LED. To turn off all LEDs again, long press the blue button for more than 3 seconds. As you can see, short press any color button, lights the corresponding LED. Only a long press of the blue button for more than 3 seconds, turns off all LEDs. I'm John from ArduinoGreek. In this episode, we learned how to use RGB LEDs and switches. We learned the Mealy's function and the use of long press button too. Thanks for tuning in to today's RGB LED project. Get ready for our next episode, where we're diving into switches and creating a car parking notification system. Want to be a part of our growing community? Drop a comment below. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe for more thrilling Arduino projects, and stay till the end for a special goodbye message. Join us on this exciting journey of tinkering and innovation.